Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today, we're going to be talking about when and how to plan for next year. As you start wrapping up the school year, you might be thinking, what do I do if I'm not done with my curriculum? How do I plan for next year? What is the next step? Well, I'm very excited to have these ladies with us to talk all about these things. I have Judy, Jen, and Amber, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Judy, welcome.
Hey, Steph, great topic. I think there's a lot of good conversation we can have. So I'm Sonlight's marketing sales manager. I'm also a retired Sunlighter, homeschooling mom, and we have just started a second generation of Sunlighters in our family. So that's pretty exciting for us.
Welcome, Jen.
Hi, Steph. I am a 19-year Sunlighter. I have 4 kids. I have 2 graduated from my homeschool and 2 that are still learning. And this is a huge topic for me. I am always, have one part of my brain thinking about next year and what we need to do and what we need to finish. And oh my gosh. So yeah, near and dear to my heart, this one.
For sure. Welcome. And Amber.
Hi. I have been homeschooling since about 2002, and I have 5 children. 3 have graduated from my homeschool, and I am currently schooling a 10th grader and a 5th grader. So still in the thick of it and thinking about how I'm wrapping up.
Very good. I'm Stephanie Rose. I'm the community manager here at Sonlight, and we'll get started. So let's talk about that lingering question I'm sure at least half of the parents have right now. What do I do if I'm not done with my curriculum?
The biggest question is, what does done look like, and when do you need to be done? Have you set a stop date? Do you have a goal that you're trying to reach by the time you're done? Being done doesn't mean that you've read every page in every book and done every worksheet in every workbook. And so you need to think about what done looks like for you.
Oh, I know.
Go ahead, Amber.
Are you sure? I was going to say that traditionally what we've done is make sure if we are through about 80% of the curriculum and we are to the point that we're about ready to kill each other, we usually are done. And for our family, taking a break has been really important. I know a lot of families that try to power through all summer or do year round, and I think it's fabulous if you can make it work. I know for us, we just need at least a period of time where we can just take a break from school and concentrate on other projects and other fun things. So my rule of thumb, although I really appreciate what Judy said, because it's always, what does done really actually mean? But if we're through at least 80%, I feel okay to say, it's time for a break.
I admit when my older kids were little, we tended to power through because a day without structure was just chaos.
Yes.
In my family, your mileage may vary. And so we did school like 300 plus days a year. Not a ton of school, not all day school, not every subject every day, because they were little. But we did the structure of let's sit down and read. You read to me, I'll read to you. Let's do some math. Let's look something up. Let's, do a craft experiment, something, make a mess in an intentional kind of way. Now that my older kids are gone and my younger kids are older, we have a summer commitment. We have a swim team that our whole family participates in. And so we must be done by Memorial Day, period, because mama is busy. And I mean, I can multitask, but I can't run a team and run a homeschool. And so whatever is not done the Friday before Memorial Day is going to be picked back up in August, period. Normally we don't go back and make sure we finish every single thing. I'm a big proponent of the 80% rule. If it's mostly done, if we've hit the important things, I can call it.
Because you have to keep in mind that the beginning of every school year, most curriculum, math curriculums and table subject type curriculum are all going to be about review anyway. So your kids are going to get that same material over again. And it could be that, like Amber said, you just need a break. You need to stop. And so stop. And maybe if you've got some read alouds you haven't finished up, spread them out over the summer. Or if you've got some science experiments that haven't been done, what fun to do on a weekend or over the summer. So you really can set a stop date and stick to it.
I would also love to point out at this point that I taught in a traditional school before I became a homeschooler. And there are very, okay, I can't speak for everyone and I won't try to be too dogmatic, but in traditional school, very seldom do they cover every page of every book that they're doing. There is also kind of an 80% rule there too. And there are certain modules that teachers or lessons, chapters that teachers will choose to bypass in order to speed through something to get to another point. But I think that you should never feel like you're really dropping the ball if you don't do every single page.
The other thing I want to point out about what Amber said is that I think generally as homeschool moms, we try to aim high. We try to plan for excellence. We try to do every single amazing thing that we can find. And so that's a really, really high goal. Even if we get 80% of the way there, Mama, you're doing fantastic.
Yeah.
Because that's 80% of a really high goal. So
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be perfect. It can still be great if you only do 80% of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And some parents will spread it out one full curriculum over a year and a half, right? And there's also a ton of review that happens in the fall in some of the math and language arts curriculums. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just like Judy said, that's absolutely right.
Yeah. So, what about evaluations, like end of the year evaluations? How can we sort of gauge what your child has learned, and where they sort of rest?
I think obviously one of the simplest ways is to do some sort of standardized evaluation. Some parents really don't enjoy that, but I have found that to be a helpful tool just to say, okay, here's where we are. And again, that's a measure of where they are at this moment. It's not a moral issue, but I had a child once who was very low in some math scores. And so that was a clue to me to, okay, in the coming year, we need to focus on this piece. So I just find that to be very helpful. Obviously there are others, we'll explore more, but just right off the bat, that's the first thing I would say.
See, and I went the other way. I'm one of those parents. I do not enjoy standardized evaluations. Thank you for saying that so diplomatically. But I lived for a long time in a state that required me to produce a portfolio. And I learned that if I look at a sample of math, of writing, of mapping, of whatever, from the beginning of the year, and then one from the end of the year, it is very clear which children are progressing and whether or not there are any that are not. And then, like Amber said, that is definitely the thing I'm going to focus on for next year. But I like the portfolio version of like, let's pull out a page from the second math lesson and one from the second to last math lesson that we've done. And I always feel like, oh my gosh, he never could have done this at the beginning of the year. He's definitely learned a lot. So,
yeah. Jen, I lived in that same state and I appreciate that too. I think actually that's a more individual evaluation, right? I mean, it really is remarkable what they can accomplish.
Yeah, it is.
And I think you have to remember, as a homeschooling parent, you know from day to day what your child knows. Yeah. Your child is not one of 25 in a classroom and all you're seeing are intermittent test scores. You interact with that child every single day. You know where they struggle and you know where they excel. And we used to do kind of my husband and I used to do an individual evaluation at the end of every school year. We would take an afternoon and go for a walk or go to a park or go out to dinner or whatever. And we would talk about each child, where did they excel this year and where did they struggle? And then I'd take an index card, and for each child, I would write down 1 or 2 academic goals that we had for the coming year. This child struggled in spelling, so we're going to have to really focus there. Or this child excelled in math, and so maybe we need to see if there's some extra outside activities that are tied to math that would just allow them to flourish. We also used to set 1 or 2 character or spiritual goals for each child, because homeschooling isn't just about academics. It's also about growing that child. And so we would talk about the struggles that they had. This child maybe struggled with staying focused and following directions with a good attitude. And maybe this child was phenomenal with sharing and was just a kind-hearted soul. So it was helpful to me to be able to get his input, write our goals for the next year on those index cards, and put them somewhere where I knew I could see them periodically. Because in the middle of January in New York, which is where I homeschooled, you can start climbing the walls and begin to wonder why you were crazy enough to homeschool to begin with. And those goals will help you remember why you're doing this.
Yeah.
About curriculum, schedule, organization, like how you structure your homeschool, and maybe even what math curriculum you're using. How do you evaluate that and then make adjustments?
Oh, that's such a good question. And that's a hard one. But I think a little bit, okay, so this isn't the complete answer. So obviously Judy and Jen chime in, but I feel like moms or whoever is doing the majority of the homeschooling, you kind of have this gut feeling that something isn't working right. And I've had that a couple times, specifically with math, where we're sailing along, it's going great. And then, so I did something in elementary that worked fine with all of my kids in elementary. But once we hit high school, junior high and high school, I started to have issues. So we had something we were using for a couple of years, but we weren't getting traction, or the kids were frustrated, or we were having tears, and it was not good. So at that point, you start asking around and looking for other options. And so that's usually when I would make that decision, was in the spring. Going to conventions is helpful. Talking to other parents and other moms who homeschool and say, what's worked for you? And then, jump in. And it's worked great for us. Every time we've had to make a switch, it's turned out to be a really positive thing. So I'm really thankful. I know that's not always the case.
What I always tell people when I'm working in the Sonlight booth at conventions is, whatever's working, just do the next thing. So if you're loving Sonlight history, Bible, literature, just do the next one.
Right.
If you're loving whatever you're using for math, just do the next level. And then concentrate on the things that you feel like maybe not quite working. Maybe we're looking for something different with science. Maybe we need something different for writing. Maybe those are just mine. But and then you don't have to feel like you're revamping your entire plan. You can feel like you're keeping most of your plan, and you just have to refocus a couple of little tweaks. And for me, that's less overwhelming than being like, what do we need to change? Because probably mostly things don't all need to change.
Right.
A list maker. I used to make a list at the end of the school year. This is what worked. This is what maybe I need to look at the convention or talk to other parents about, like Amber mentioned. And then I would sort through what I already had from the past as I was, bringing younger children up behind older siblings. I would kind of sort through, so I'm not buying duplicates of things that I already own. And once I made that list, I tended to make my final curriculum decision early, like before the summer rush of everybody's deciding on curriculum now. And so I tried very hard to get that final order put together and get it in April or May, so that when everyone else was last minute rushing, wondering why shipping was taking so long or whatever, mine was sitting on the shelf all ready to go. And it just allowed me to relax for the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With that being said, if you are not that person and you're just so wiped from the year that it's almost causing a mental breakdown to think about what you can possibly do for the next year, that's okay too. You can take a breather and spend some time to evaluate. If you're, I mean, obviously Judy's right with shipping and everything. I have rarely gone past June without placing an order or figuring it out. I'd also love to mention the fact that just because something was good and worked for even your first 3 or 4 kids doesn't mean that there might not be a better little product. And like Jen said, I'm not talking about revamping everything, but you know, if you've been using Wordly Wise all this time, but it's not all that great and you don't love it, you don't have to force the 5th kid to go through Wordly Wise. You can do something different or change it up a little. Keeps it fresh
Disclaimer.
for you. Yeah,
If you do that, the first 4 kids are going to be
we'll
like,
be mad. I know.
yeah, exactly.
I know. That's what happens. But that helps to keep it fresh, even for you, which like for me with Sonlight, I've loved when there are new books. I usually go ahead and grab some new books because let's be honest, there are some that I didn't love reading and I don't feel like reading a 3rd or 4th time out loud. And here's a new one and I'm really excited to read that one. So it's yeah. I didn't finish that sentence. Somebody else can finish it.
The other thing that I like to remind moms on the back of that thought is that you can't, well, I can't do it all perfectly all the time. So if this was a really good homeschool year, but we slacked on science experiments, then I'm going to make a point to slack on something different next year.
Yeah.
We're gonna prioritize science experiments, knowing that we didn't do a great job of that last year for whatever reason. So if that means that we, don't get all the read alouds done this year, I may save some for the summer. And then at the end of that year, be like, we really need to focus on making sure we get these read alouds done.
Yeah.
But I kind of, have a rotating basis of slacking on things. I feel like it's probably called, what is that called? Like the loop method. There's some official name for slack at something different periodically so that you get it all in. But in reality, it's just like imperfect mom life.
We're going to have Jen do seminars on Jen's loop system. There we go. We can market it.
Right,
How to homeschool 4 kids and never dissect anything.
There you go.
I want to say that if you are not able to attend a convention this year, definitely join the Sonlight app. We are planning to have some of these ladies who are in the booth go live and talk and answer any questions you might have. So definitely join that app and community so you can still benefit from their wonderful advice, even if you can't go and touch and feel and look through everything. They can still offer you this advice periodically. So as we look ahead, yes, I think a lot of people should be you should purchase your curriculum relatively early so you beat the rush, because if you're waiting until August, guess what? There's a lot of people who wait till August. So definitely try to get that order in before then for sure. And let's see, what about how to prepare for next year so you're not freaking out over the summer? And by that I mean you purchase this is the scenario. You purchased your curriculum, you have your old curriculum, you want to be like done so you can relax for the summer. But what advice do you have to just quickly sort of get your house and your homeschool ready so in August or September, whenever you decide, or July, there's a lot of people who just start in July, but you can just open and go?
One of the reasons, actually going back to what we just said about ordering early, that's another reason to order earlier.
Yeah.
It gives you the summer to look through those curriculum materials, make yourself familiar with what's coming for the next school year. Spend some time cleaning out all of the paper and the stuff and the leftover science experiment materials and everything else from the current year, so that you start clean and fresh in the fall. File those school district reports, put the papers away, and yeah, start fresh.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cleaning out everything we're done with is the first job. Then we have space to get out the new things. I'll go farther than that and say my house is where I work when I homeschool. And so just like schools over the summer take time to, wipe down all the chairs and wax all the floors, I clean out my house. We clean closets, we get rid of clothes, we take inventory, we do all of that over the summer, so that in September, when everything is ready to go with our homeschool, it's also ready to go for our homeschool house. So I do my carpets, we clean out the garage, everything over the summer, because it makes me feel like, okay, I am momentarily in control again. I'm ready to homeschool in September. And then, by June, it all needs to be done again, but that's mom life.
And even on a small scale, if you have kind of a dedicated school area, you could have a campus appreciation day, just like they do at school. And you could have your kids cleaning and sorting through. And I think one of the big things, Stephanie, is do not keep everything. Don't keep everything. You don't want that. You don't want, 20 years from now, sobbing as you look through every little handwriting page and you don't want that. Just move on. If you want to keep a couple samples or something, that's great, but you can't keep everything. And so I love that. Just clean it out, keep what you need to clean if you have things that you have to show for your district, whatever. But the other thing I was going to say, I often, like Judy, will make a list. Okay, what are the subjects I need to cover with each child? So just write them down, quickly write them down. It's usually not as much as what I sometimes have built it up in my mind to be. And then I just say, okay, do I have this? Do I know what I'm doing? Yep. Oh, I need a new workbook for math. It doesn't have to be this super complicated, horrible thing. And then clean out, make those couple of orders. I mean, especially if you've been doing this a long time, knowing what you have, what you need, but writing down each child, I think, does really help. Just have a quick list, but then cleaning out, I agree.
The other thing you can do to prep ahead is maybe you have younger kids in a science level that has some of those activity pages and cutouts, and you can make copies, you can cut things out and put them in a little folder. Any of that kind of stuff that you can do at leisure over the summer saves you the stress of Monday morning. Oh man, I didn't get whatever done. And now we're already behind and I'm frustrated. And so being able to do all that and pencil out your schedule, and emphasis on pencil, and what's our day, what's each day of the week, what's the week going to look like this fall, sketch it out and play with it over the summer until you get it where you want it, but do it in pencil.
I would also add a special thing for high school. And that is that if you are homeschooling high school, take the time at the end of May or very early June to work on their transcript. You will not remember. You will forget. It's weird. They show up senior year like, wait, I think there was something else. Don't put that off. Do your transcript year by year, even if you have to ask someone to watch your kids or whatever you need to do to get a quiet moment to sit down and keep that transcript up to date every year. That will help you so much. I am so thankful that someone told me to do that early on with my first in 9th grade. And I am so thankful. And I have talked to moms who are kicking themselves, senior year, thinking I didn't keep up on this. It's a little thing. It does not take that long. That's something to be disciplined about, I think, if you're doing this through high school.
Yeah. The only other summer prep thing that I'm going to add to that is switching gears, is getting off of homeschool mind and take your kids to the pool, to the beach, to the park, whatever you do to relax, go to grandma's for 3 weeks, take a summer vacation, whatever it is that your family does, do it as if you are on vacation from work and don't think about it. And allowing yourself to not think about it is going to let you come back fresh.
Yes.
Okay.
Everyone needs a mental break. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Don't forget to rest. I want to mention a few things. So you can get your instructor's guide assembled. It's called IG Assembly, and you can opt into that service on Sonlight's website. So it is just a small service, but it comes to you ready to open and go. And you don't have to sort of put all that together. Now that doesn't take, it's not that hard, but it is an extra step. The other thing is I wanted to mention about transcripts. We have an entire ebook that teaches you how to do transcripts, and they are relatively easy, but I will put a link to that as well so you can see that. So on our last note, I really want one last piece of advice that helped you prepare at the end of the year to have a spectacular summer and then beginning of the year. What's your one piece of advice?
Mm.
I know this one's hard.
Mine would be enjoy your kids for the summer. Take some time to just be the mom so that we can come back and school again happily in the fall.
I love it.
Yeah, that's really good, Jen. So I'll pick something different, but enjoy them. I have found that it's really important for me to just pray and give the past year with its victories and defeats to God, and know that He is sovereign over our school journey. And then really just ask for wisdom for what's coming. God, just please show me. I'm stuck. I don't know how to schedule differently for next year. I don't know exactly, do we do a co-op? Do we not? How am I going to, I don't know what to do. I need your help. And I am amazed so many times when I've had roadblocks in my thinking about how I was going to proceed, and God would answer that prayer in ways that I wasn't expecting. And every time He's shown up for me in that regard. And I'm so, so grateful. So don't forget to pray. It sounds cliche, but it's not.
I think I would also say, be willing to try something new over the summer. All year long, you may be the parent teacher who makes everybody do their math and stick to their schedule and do their chores and get to bed on time. And during the summer, you need to set that aside, kind of taking off from what Jen shared earlier, and be willing to try something fun and new, maybe take a trip to somewhere that you haven't been. But don't be so focused on all the things that have to be done. And I remember someone saying to me once as I was raising my kids, evaluate how many times you say yes in a day, as opposed to saying no. You should always say yes more often. And so just the value of being able to spend a summer saying yes to the things that your kids are asking about. And I'm not talking about, letting your kids become entitled or believing that they can get whatever they want, but find a balance and say yes over the summer.
I love that. My kids actually asked for yes day. And I said, that's fine as long as I don't have to spend a lot of money. So, so no, we can't buy things. That's the thing. Experiences only. Anyway, I appreciate you guys so much for sharing all of your knowledge again. And yeah, keep watching. There's more to come today. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
Steph.